The Detroit Lions are on route to have the first seed, the first time they've ever done it, and we will just sit back and have a bye week and watch the lower seed come in to Ford Field for the divisional playoff game. Now, if you guys know this already. I've been talking about it for 3 years. I am a huge believer in the NFL narrative. Not that the NFL is rigged, but that there are storylines in place. That's what makes the NFL entertaining, right? The NFL. Okay. With the NFL entertaining, right? That there are storylines, just like days of our NFL lives. They have to keep us interested. That is why people get traded. Well, not why people get traded, but they got to keep things interesting. So I don't think it's rigged, but I think it's narrative. It is narrative based. They want to have storylines. And we saw one play out last year that I predicted down to a T. And that was that Matthew Stafford would come into Detroit and played the Detroit Lions to help kind of overcome. He would be part of the first playoff game held at Ford Field. And I start predicting this about with probably 6 weeks left in the season. The Rams made this push. They wind up being the 6th seed. The Detroit Lions were 3, and the 6th seed plays the 3rd seed in the first round of the playoffs. Now, I've been watching the LA Rams when they're on locally here or on prime time. And I started to think last night, this was after the Buffalo Bills game. I said, wait a minute, Derek, there might be one more kind of arc in place. Now, if you guys are familiar with arcs, there are different kind of storylines, and they'll be like arcs. So you'll have the Dan Campbell arc, then you'll have the Lions are terrible arc. And now we're part of the Stafford arc. And I think that this is the end of the Matthew Stafford arc when it comes to Detroit. Here's what I'm starting to believe will happen. Now, I'm not as sure about this arc as I am the last one. The last one made perfect sense, and this one makes even more sense, but it kind of fit in. Now, here's what I'm thinking, and this will be crazy if I'm right. I'm thinking that there is a possibility that the Detroit Lions, because all you've been hearing, and this kind of came through, I made a video a couple days ago, how people are starting to say they still don't believe in the Detroit Lions. It's, the Lions don't want to face the Eagles. The Lions don't want to face this team. The Lions don't want to face Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams. This will be the 3rd time that we face them in a calendar year, pretty much, if we see them in the playoffs. And I'm beginning to believe that the LA Rams are going to make the playoffs. We're going to look and see where they are right now and how that can happen. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to upset the first 2 teams, being the lower seed. They are going to come to Detroit for the NFC title game. And Matthew Stafford is going to be the person that stands in between Jared Goff getting to a Super Bowl in Detroit in Ford Field. I did not feel this way at the beginning of the year. I thought that the book had closed on Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions narrative. But I think, and this one here is even better than the first one. All right. So let's look and see what exactly is going on and how that could possibly happen with just the Rams have 3 games to go. All right, obviously, the Detroit Lions are the 1st seed. The 1st seed gets the bye. They get home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and they face the lower seed all the way to the Super Bowl. That is there are 3 things that are critical to the 1st seed, and why the 2nd seed is cool, but the 1st seed is better. You get a bye week, okay? You get home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and you face the lower seed of all the seeds. So you never have to face the higher seed. You always face the lower seed. So the Detroit Lions right now are the 1st seed, and right now they would get a bye week, home field advantage throughout the playoffs. If you're the number 2 seed, you got to have somebody slip up, right? All right, so let's scroll down. Let's look at who the playoffs are. Right now, the 3rd seed, look at the gap between the 2nd seed and the 3rd seed. It is 3 wins. Okay, so the Detroit Lions are going to be seeds 1, 2, or 5, depending on what happens with the Minnesota Vikings. The 4th seed is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So right now, the NFC West and the NFC South are up for grabs. I mean, the Saints are still in this thing with the NFC South. The Vikings are the 5th seed, and then we're going on to the Packers, the 6th seed. The Washington Commanders are the 7th seed. Now, this is the one I want you to watch. Look at who number 8 is. With the Rams win against the 49ers in Thursday night to start week 15. The Rams are just outside the playoffs. Now, if you remember, they went on a tear last year, and the Rams started off 0-2. They started off 0-2, and since then, they have gone 8-4. 8-4 in their last, after starting on 2, 8-4. Now, remember, there's only been a handful of teams, less than 20 teams, I believe it is. It might be a little more than that, maybe in the 20s, of teams that start 0-2 and make the playoffs. The Rams are trying to be one of those teams. The Falcons, Cardinals, blah, blah, blah. None of these teams really matter. All right, now, here's what I think could happen, okay? The Rams are either going to slide in, they're going to take over the Commanders, because if the Commanders lose on Sunday against the Saints, it's possible, I don't know about the tiebreakers, but it's possible that the Rams could slide in 7. Now, it doesn't matter what the Rams, if the Rams are 6 and 7, if the Lions have the first seed. Now, let's say that the Rams are 7. They would currently play, and they play the Eagles. I could see the Rams upsetting the Eagles in Philly. Let's say the Rams are 6. I could see them going to Seattle and upsetting them, okay? So now what that means is if the Rams were the 7th seed or the 6th seed, we would need, if they were the 7th seed and they upset the 2nd, then they're coming to play us in the NFC divisional round. What I could see happening, I don't know if they can catch the 6th seed. So they're probably either going to have to be the 7th seed. What we would need to happen is this. I could see them winning the division. They end the season against the Seattle Seahawks. I could see them winning the division, right? So now they win the division. The Green Bay Packers could come to them. They upset, at this point, would it be an upset? They beat the Green Bay Packers, all right, in the as the 3rd seed. Now, if let's say the Eagles win now the Rams are the 3rd seed. Follow me here. The Rams are the 3rd seed. Philadelphia is the 2nd seed. Philadelphia beats the 7th seed. The Rams beat the 6th seed. Now, the Rams would go and face the Eagles, and the Lions would host the winner of this game, the Vikings-Bucks, or the NFC South and the first wild card team, right? So we think we can beat both these teams. I know we can beat the Buccaneers. The Minnesota Vikings is a more difficult task, right? So now we beat our divisional opponent in the Buccaneers or the Vikings. The Stafford, it really works. It really works if the Lions have the first seed. The Rams have to win the NFC West, which is quite possible. It's going to come down between the Seahawks and the Rams, that last game. Then, with that, the 3rd seed would face the 1st seed. The 3rd seed would face the 1st seed, come in for the NFC title game, if that was the case. But we would need, again, we would need the Rams to upset the Eagles, and we would have to beat either the Buccaneers or the Vikings in the divisional round. But that's what I could see happening. Now, if we remain the 1st seed and they are the 7th or 6th seed, I think the Rams, honestly, I mean, right now, they are still within reach of the 6th seed. You know what I'm saying? So none of this is preposterous. It's out of the question right now. Like I told y'all before, the Packers could fall out of the playoffs. If they lost all 4, the Packers are not, none of these teams except the Lions and Eagles are guaranteed to make the playoffs. So that tells you that I am right. But so I see it shaping up. Again, the best route is for the Lions to have the 1st seed, the Rams to win their division. They beat the 6th seed. The Lions host the 7th seed. The 7th seed would have to upset the 2nd seed, things like that. But I can see this happening. The Rams are on a tear. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, they're going off. I could see one last arc. What will happen after this is now the Matthew Stafford narrative is over. It's over. I actually thought about it last night when I was watching the game. And I was like, I'm seeing him sit there with his gray hair, and I'm saying to myself, I could see a situation where it might not be in the next few years, but where Matthew Stafford, he's done being a starter, he's done playing, and he tries to come back to Detroit. I don't know if he would be a backup. I don't know, but I believe it's a one-day contract type of thing. I think he will definitely do that. But I didn't really see this narrative. You could see the narrative for last year. You could see it a mile away. This one if you remember when I started the season, I was telling you that the narratives were not clear. The one that was beyond a shadow of a doubt is that the NFL wants to push the three-peat for the Chiefs. I told you guys that. And the Chiefs have had 14 or 15 victories. Their last 15 games, something like that, have been one possession games. So the narrative is for the Chiefs to defend and be the first team to potentially three-peat in 20 years since the mid-2000 Patriots. And that the Detroit Lions are going to be the team to stand in their way. However, the NFL is all about ticket sales, and I could see the Matthew Stafford, one last ride, one last narrative arc. Because after this, we beat Stafford to get to the Super Bowl. We win the Super Bowl. There's no more Stafford talk. It's all done. There's nothing to push. You have pushed the ultimate narrative. So I'm not sure this plays out, because that's why I believe that we lost the Dallas Cowboy game. Because when we lost the Dallas Cowboy game in week 17 of last year, that basically ensured that we were stuck in the seed that we were in. We still had hope to get the first seed at that point. It would have taken a lot, but we really had a chance to get the second. Now, with the Rams being the sixth seed, we wouldn't have matched up in that first round. We could have matched up in the second round. So I think that last year's narrative was very clear. This year's narrative was a little bit muddy on the AFC side, and the only narrative to begin the season was Chiefs to three-peat. Now, and basically every other NFL team is trying to stop them, but they had to let some things play out, see where teams would match up, and now it's like, oh, okay, we got this bonus narrative of Matthew Stafford being the team. You got the Jared Goff. You got Detroit booing them. You got, all of this stuff starting 0-2. You got their narrative, and then you got ours. Jared Goff, MVP candidate early on in the season, playing lights out. The Detroit Lions doing all these things. Now Matthew Stafford is standing in between the Detroit Lions in their first Super Bowl appearance. I'm telling you, man, it's not out of the question. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. How likely do you think the Rams, because the Rams are not in the playoffs just yet. They have 3 games remaining. I think that they sneak in there. I do. I think that they sneak in there. Here's what I need to know. If the Seahawks lose to the Green Bay Packers, and now the Rams are 8-6 and the Seahawks are 8-6, I believe they still play each other. So I don't know who has the division lead at that point. But it could come down to the last game of the season, that the loser of the Seattle Seahawks, LA Rams, gets bounced out of the playoffs, and the other one wins the division. I'm telling you, man, it's not out of the question. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. Consider as well, we are in the month of December. A lot of things happening this year, and Green Gridiron has brought the promo back of the more you spend, the more you save. You guys have heard me talk about it a lot before. I'm probably going to be talking about it a lot in the near future, and that is spend 50, save 5, spend 100, save 10, spend 250, save 40, spend 500, save 100, spend 1,000, save 250, which is 75% of your total cost. In addition to that, you can use promo code DETSYN and save an additional percentage off your purchase. You'll know that it's there. It'll be a little tag that says the code is applied. You'll see some money, extra money come off your order, and you guys can get that probably before the end of the month. So consider doing that. And thank you to everybody that has bought anything through an affiliate link. That helps me do this full time and keep this channel going on. I eventually one day want to be in a brick and mortar physical location. I got so many goals and things I want to do with the Syndicate brand as a whole. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lion. I'm telling you, man, I be seeing this stuff coming from a mile away. The NFL is an entertainment driven league.